Hey everybody, we're here with the Soul Purpose Project, and today we're interviewing Lori Fields out of New York City. It's so exciting to have you on the show, Lori. Thanks so much for joining us.
I am beyond thrilled to be here. Thank you for creating this opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. Without further ado, I'll just start with the first question.
Sure.
Can you tell us who you are and what you do right now for work and in life?
Yeah. Wow. Who you are. I mean, that's a big one. So my name is Lori Fields, and I guess I'll start sort of by trade. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have my own coaching practice, which is called Your Worthy Self. But beyond that, I'm a mom and I have three little kids. They're 5, 3, and 1, and I'm a wife and I live in New York City. And I think since a very early age, I sort of was born as a person on a quest to sort of figure out what living on purpose and living deliberately looks like. So I think that kind of summarizes who I am. I'm a woman on that journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Lori, when you hear the words soul purpose, what does that mean to you? How would you define that for yourself?
I think soul purpose means, I think what comes up first is living deep. I early on, in high school, I came across and was lucky enough to be introduced to the Transcendental Movement, which is reading Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And I always say, I was bit by the bug early on in terms of really wanting to figure out what seizing the moment, seizing your life, living deep and living in a way that feels like it's such an authentic representation of who you really are. And that is different for every single person, which is why I love it so much. Is that there, and in my coaching work with women, we always talk about that. Like there's not one way. It's not about perfection. It's not about looking around to see who someone else is. And I think those things sometimes can help us, when we sort of look around and get a sense of what we like and what we're attracted to and what feels like it's fulfilling to us. But, at the end of the day and at the end of your life, soul purpose is about figuring out at every turn who you're being and whether it's aligned with who you feel like it was you were meant to be.
Very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Lori, this is the biggest one. Do you know what your purpose is?
I do. I said I do before I know what I'm going to say afterwards, but I do. My purpose is helping women feel worthy of being who they really are. I think that's sort of the big statement, and that looks like a lot of different things. So sometimes it's coaching sessions with somebody, sometimes it's a conversation with someone on Facebook, sometimes it's helping out a friend. I am, how do I say this the best way? I am continually um, frustrated sometimes and pissed off that women are so hard on themselves and that we're so quick to second guess who we are and what we want, and we make ourselves feel bad for the smallest little things, and we get trapped in our own cycles of guilt and limiting beliefs and all this stuff. And I think that if I can play even the tiniest role in helping a woman really feel good about who she really is, without even needing to change a thing, without having to be better, without having to be more, without having to overcome certain things, that exactly who you are right now is enough, and it's everything. And when you actually believe that you're worthy of being your real self, all those things in your life start to change. It becomes easy, things become easier, and it becomes easier to reach your goals and even start creating shift in your life to have it look the way you want. Most of the things that happen to us in our life, I believe, are a result of where we fall on the spectrum of worthiness. And so if your life is feeling disconnected or you're feeling like you're not really getting what you want, There's a much deeper story going on about how you really feel about yourself in terms of your self-worth. And so my purpose is helping a woman figure that out and really arrive on the other side of finally feeling good about who she really is.
Wow, powerful stuff.
Thank you.
So
I get
do you,
excited by it, can you tell?
yeah, no, and that's great. I mean, that's the idea of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this might sound like a silly question, but do you think that everybody has a soul purpose?
I do. I don't think that, I think there's many people who don't always know the value of it and don't always, I don't think everybody lives their life on the same level at all. I think everybody operates on the frequency that feels right for them. So I think that we all have it. I don't think everybody's interested in knowing what it is
Mhm.
or changing their life to be able to live inside of that. I think that everybody's sort of here in your moment right now of being alive for very different reasons. And I think some people's journey here right now is about really aligning yourself with that. But I don't think it's for everybody.
Cool. That's good. So, Lori, how did you get clear on what your soul purpose is? Like, what was your process around that?
I'm still going through it.
Mhm.
It's ever evolving. Um, for me, I really do feel like I was, I think I was born as a creature knowing that um, I had a deep purpose and that I couldn't live any other way without sort of always kind of being in that journey of figuring out what it was. That said, I think it takes a while. Well, it took a while for me. I'll speak for me. It took a while, to figure out exactly what that was going to manifest itself to and what it was going to look like. So um, I can say for me, I've always known that I'm a deeply emotional, sensitive, and intuitive person. And so when I make choices in my life, they typically come from a place of just knowing, like, this feels right. And so as I sort of use that as my gauge for making choices, I think it just sort of led me down this path. And I'm really big into self-exploration. So, I've been into therapy. I am a therapist myself. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I ask myself the big, deep questions all the time just because that's how I operate. So I think it's just been years and years of a journey of saying, like, does this feel right? And if something's feeling off, what is that about? And does this feel like I'm really living inside of who I am? I mean, I ask myself these things continue to, because I think the whole journey evolves all the time. We're always, I think, a different version of ourselves. So I think just checking in, I mean, and I would say this to anyone who's also on a quest, to sort of be on this journey, is that I don't think there's an end point. And I think that it's a constant mindfulness practice of checking in with yourself and asking the deep questions of, does this feel like it's aligned for me with a place really deep and good?
Great. So I think that that really ties in with my next question is in terms of living your purpose, like how do you know that you're living in
I don't. Maybe I'm not. No. Uh,
it?
how do you know that you're living in your purpose? Well, I'll give you just a quick little example in my business because it's just very real and it's sort of coming to me in the moment. I run my own business, and so there's days like any other entrepreneur out there where sometimes I feel like, it's too hard, it's too much, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just going to go get a job at, Whole Foods and just talk with people all day. And, not that that would even be so much easier, but you know what I mean. Like, there's days where you feel like, what, I'm overwhelmed by it, and maybe there's something that could feel easier for me. And so I'll have these moments of extreme overwhelm and also sort of being a mom with three little kids and like factoring all those things in. It's easy to get caught up in all the things that need to happen and be overwhelmed by that. So I will have moments then where I say to myself, or I'm going to give myself a little break, like for the next week, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm going to go for a jog, and I'm going to read the book I want to read, and I'm going to go easy on myself, and I'm going to ease up on the pressure I have on myself as it relates to work. And sure enough, the moment I do that, all of a sudden I'm flooded, right, with inspiration and what I wanted. Like, I can't stop. And I think that's kind of how you know. Like, the point is, every time I get overwhelmed and I say, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel. And I don't really think I'm going to throw in the towel, but it's just how I feel. All of a sudden, like, I can't stop. It's like I couldn't stop if I tried or if I wanted to, and I keep coming back to this place all the time. And I know that whether I were just doing this for free or whether it ends up being something extremely lucrative for me, I know it doesn't matter. I know that I have a message that I want to send, and my mission is to send it and to be that messenger here. And so whatever that looks like, that's awesome. Like, I can't do anything else. I can't imagine not doing it. Can't imagine not doing this.
Fantastic. Well, I think your intuition's bang on because you're leading right into my next question, which is what impact do you feel that there is on one's finances as it relates to living in your purpose? If you
Yeah.
choose between money and passion.
That is a gigantic question.
Yes.
I definitely don't know if you have to choose between money and passion. I've seen many, many examples where you absolutely don't have to, and I'm going to believe that you don't have to. But I also think that everybody's journey looks different. So sometimes I don't want to answer that. I don't think that living in your passion 100% for every single person is going to end up looking the way that they imagined it was going to look. I
Hmm.
think that it looks the way it needs to look for you, and I think that's for everyone to figure out. But I absolutely believe that stepping inside your worthiness, which if that also is a place for you of feeling like you're worthy of living your deepest passion, your highest calling, I think that absolutely that is the place for you that will deliver the most amount of abundance that you have in this lifetime. I think those two elements coming together, feeling like you deserve it, because I think so many of us hold ourselves back because we think, oh, I don't, I should just go get a job because you think it's safe and it's secure and it's going to deliver a set thing. And you think that if you live your passion and your purpose, it's kind of a luxury for people that have it easy or are lucky or are happy or whatever it is. And I think that living your purpose might be one of the hardest things to do in life. I think it's also one of the things that leveraging exactly who you are meant to be is the number one, is your best chance for success across the board of your life, whether it's finances, whether it's a happy marriage, whether it's being the kind of mom you want to be, whatever it is. That living in your deep passion, feeling really fulfilled with how you're living your life is your best chance for success. But I don't know what it's going to, I don't know what it's going to look like money wise for each person, but I guess I do feel like that is the place that sort of delivers the most amount of abundance.
Awesome. So what's a decision or action that you made in the past to get on your path that you would absolutely make again?
Oh, I would say being part of a group of women in business. It was actually the first move that I made when I wanted to run my own business and I didn't know what that looked like. I joined a group that met in person in New York City once a week, just for a month. It was a 4-week thing. And I always talk about this because it was completely life changing for me. It was the first moment in my life that I was part of a group of women whose sole purpose, not SOUL, but SOLE, was to come together and support one another and to help one another believe in what could be possible for them. And I had never been part of a group like that before. It was completely groundbreaking for me. I left that group knowing that I think the power of I think anytime you can surround yourself with a group of people that are truly supportive and on sort of the same journey, I think the power of women coming together is extraordinary. So yeah, I mean, I would do that a million times over. I love being around other women who are real and authentic and trying to live their best life. It's really inspiring to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your own kind of community, overall, would you say that you felt encouraged or discouraged in terms of pursuing your purpose and finding your passion?
Like my own kind of small like family structure
Yeah.
kind of thing or yeah, I think I mean I would say mostly I want to say mostly or no, I feel completely supported. I think that sometimes um I think that sometimes I exist on a level where I don't always feel like people get me. You know, I think that sometimes I can be pretty like intense and it scares people. Um, so, but as far as feeling supported, I feel 100% supported. And I will say that like my husband so often, you know, in the midst of whether we might be having a fight or a disagreement or a bad moment or whatever it is, I always feel like the greatest gift for me in us being together is the fact that he will do anything to support me and he makes me feel like, you know, there's nothing like I gotta be who I need to be and he's completely supportive of that. It's amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what's been hard? Like, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered into transitioning into what you're doing now?
um I think the what's been hard is learning how to be a good entrepreneur, whatever good means. But there's so many there's so many areas to figure out, and not just to learn about, but also to learn about whether that even resonates with you, because it's really easy to see how other people are doing things. And sometimes you want to jump on board because it feels like, oh, well, everybody's doing this, so that seems like it's the next best thing to do. And I think and I think you can learn very quickly that when you do that and it doesn't resonate with you or it doesn't feel like your way, you end up, not doing a great job. You end up procrastinating. It ends up feeling harder than it should probably feel for you in your business. So I think for me the hardest thing is staying true to what feels like it's a true reflection of who I am as a business person. Um, and I think too, getting the help that you need. I'm sort of in that place right now with myself of like, okay, I know that to grow where I want to grow, I can't do everything by myself anymore, nor do I even want to. So I think being smart about strategy and helping yourself through, it's one of the places where I work with entrepreneurs too, and talking about, giving yourself the help you need has so much to do with whether you feel like you're worthy of reaching your goals, and so this is a big place of like a big learning moment in business of getting the help that you need.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, how do you personally deal with tough times on an emotional level? Like, what helps you get through the obstacles that you're faced with?
Yeah. Um, I think the number one thing that I've incorporated into my, I call it my worthiness practice now, is I think of it in terms of it really being a daily practice. That it's much more about being in the present moment with how you're showing up and who you're being and what that's really about. That there's so much power there in these small moments that I find it, and it's also less scary because I think sometimes, like when you talk about making big changes in your life, it can often feel really overwhelming, really scary, and it can be immobilizing, like you don't know, like, so what do I do next? But
Hmm.
I think for me, like when I come across moments that feel really challenging or emotionally difficult for me, it's about, okay, what's really going on for me? What am I really reacting to? What's triggering this mood? What's triggering this experience? And one of the number one things that I work with my clients on and myself is about radical self-acceptance. That this is part of the journey, right? The challenges are just as important as the victories. And so those are the moments where you also have the opportunity to learn a tremendous amount about yourself. And often the challenges can often give you more room to grow than when things are just going pretty good or going great.
Yeah.
So, it's the daily practice of checking in, getting clear on what is it about, why am I reacting like that, accepting that maybe I'm just in a bad place and I have to be in this bad place, and if I fight against it, it's going to make it worse. But if I just accept that this is what it is at the moment, everything feels it feels easier to manage, and it doesn't mess up all the other things in my life. Like I can be here and accept that, and I don't have to act it out like all over the place. And I try to be mindful of taking care of myself. I always encourage the woman I work with, to have a worthiness practice in terms of, eating healthy, in terms of working out, like whatever it's going to look like for each person. But I think we all have ways in which we know that we can set the conditions for taking care of ourselves better.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, it helps you manage all the other stuff, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say is different about you, like now that you're here, you're living your purpose versus when you felt like you weren't?
Everything. That's, that's a general answer, but really everything. I mean, when I wasn't living my purpose, what it looked like was um, socially isolating myself, not feeling very good physically, like about my body, like body image issues, allowing body image issues to dictate whether or not I was going to go out or be social, disordered eating, definitely not feeling in control, like definitely doing some binge eating, um, dating the wrong guys, looking for love in all the wrong places kind of thing. I mean, all the big areas for me of my life were off. I think I was, you know, slightly depressed maybe without even really realizing that I was. I think I just felt off in all those areas. And that's 100% not how I feel. Now, do I still have emotional days and days where I feel overwhelmed or days where the self-doubt creeps in, all that stuff? Absolutely. But because I'm in a much in such a noticeably different place with loving myself, with feeling like I'm living on purpose, doing what I was meant to do, that the way you manage those things looks and feels completely different. That you have methods now, you don't beat yourself up because, I wasn't my best self today, or I ate this and so now I feel bad about myself. Like those kinds of behaviors and ways of thinking have changed. And so it makes it easier to then manage all those other elements of your life. I don't know if I'm explaining it clearly, but
I
it
think so.
sort of changes everything.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And then it relates too to how has then your impact on the world changed?
I don't know. I mean, I don't, like how do I feel like I'm making a different impact on the world, or
Yeah, I guess how do you feel like what's the change in the impact you're making on the world
well, I
compared to
definitely feel like doing what I was meant to do has opened doors all over the place in terms of especially my connection with people. I feel like now I have a ridiculous amount of female friends. I go out a lot more. I have this great Facebook group which has thousands of people, and I think that it's allowed me to connect with life in a much bigger way.
Great. So, can you explain your perspective on living in your soul's purpose and work? Like, do you feel that they can be separate, or what's your opinion on that?
Um, yeah, I do feel like they can be separate. I mean, I think I know, my view is probably skewed a little bit because I work, in the area of helping people find their purpose and help them feel worthy of living on their purpose. So that's, I think I have the blinders on in terms of like that's what I see all the time. But I don't think your work has to be your higher purpose by any means. I think that there's, again, I think different kinds of people live in a way that feels right for them, and some people can go to work doing something that's okay for them or that maybe they like, but it isn't the deepest thing for them. And they have hobbies and they have other things and they have other ways of fulfilling what they feel like is a higher purpose. I don't think the two are have to be intertwined.
Got it. Great. So, last question. We're already here.
Yeah.
What what would you say are the ingredients for success, or sort of prescriptive advice that you would give to anybody who's searching for their soul purpose in this moment?
Yeah. Um, I think step one is believing you have one.
Mhm.
I think step two is believing you're worthy of finding it. Because I think that's a big thing that maybe goes under the radar. Um, and I think giving yourself permission to even um, experiment and play. The way to find something is to give yourself a chance to find it. That sounds very simple, but I think sometimes like we want something, but then we don't say, okay, well, if maybe it takes being out of my comfort zone, maybe it takes thinking about it a different way, maybe it takes giving myself a new approach to finding it, meaning go do something just because it seems silly and fun. Go try something because there's just a tiny piece of you that's a little bit curious about it. I think giving yourself more room to play and be curious and think of it as, I think sometimes we get really intense of like, I just want to find it already, and like we get impatient with it. And while of course that's understandable because it's such an every if you want to find it, it can feel like why haven't I found it already? But asking yourself, am I really giving myself a chance in all these different ways to figure out what it is? Read different books, go to different movies, share with other people, maybe join a group. That absolutely worked for me. Join a group of people finding their purpose. Get yourself out of your comfort zone, even if it's just a small little way, and go try some things that you're a little bit curious about. I think that I think we all get whispers from the universe all the time about, oh, that looks cool, or oh, I saw this person doing trapeze and that looked really fun, or oh, my friend just joined this group. Whatever it is, like anything that comes into your mind as a thought of that seems interesting, that seems fun, or what did I dream of doing when I was 10 years old? Those are there for a reason because they come from you. They're a huge part of who you are. So I think being able to sort of open that box a little bit and say, if something interests you, it's for a reason. It's probably because your deeper purpose is trying to send you, some indication that this could be the way. This could help you find your way.
That's great advice. That's fantastic. Play more. We never
Yeah,
hear that. Nobody ever
yeah.
says that.
No, play definitely. Definitely.
Oh, Lori, thank you so much for your insight and for taking the time to share with us, your experience on your
Yeah.
journey with your own purpose and what you've learned. It's tremendously valuable.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so, so much.
Thank you. I'm again, like really, I could talk about this all day, and there's nothing I like more than helping someone else be able to find their way. Because in my eyes, you get one chance to do this. And I really believe that your life is an urgent matter, and every person who wants to give themselves a chance can. I think every things can get better for anybody who holds themselves accountable for wanting to help themselves find their way. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about it.
Oh gosh, my pleasure. So Lori, if folks watching this wanted to get in touch with you, maybe join your Facebook group, talk about working with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So my website is yourworthyself.com, and Facebook is facebook.com/yourworthyself.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah, and they can also, my personal page is Lori Fields. You could find me there as well. So
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Lori. So appreciate it. And we'll see you on the web, I'm sure.
sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.